This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Susan. The meeting was called to order at 7 o'clock. It's my duty to inform you all of your individual emergency exits, which I'm not privy to in any way, but this is the routine. And I ask any of you to declare any pecuniary interests that you may have in any of the decisions. This is for committee members of any of the matters before us tonight. You can do so now or at the time that the particular application is spoken to. I think I'll just do that. Sorry about that. Approval of the agenda.
I'm happy to move that we approve it.
Moved
I'll
by
second that.
Bob,
I'll second.
Jerry. Whoops, sorry, Brenda. I saw Jerry's hand flash there and jumped
Because you
at
can't
it.
see my hand.
I will listen more attentively, Brenda.
Okay.
We have minutes from the last meeting of the Committee of Adjustment on Thursday, December 9th. Those have been circulated to us. Thank you, Susan. Are there any amendments, changes, adjustments that any committee members wish to suggest?
No,
Seeing none, I ask for someone to make a motion to adopt the minutes as circulated. I see Brenda wants to make this motion.
I'll
Seconded
second it.
Jerry Reed. Thank you, Susan. Much appreciated. So I'll just mention for members of the public or applicants who are on the call as well, that you can ask any questions of the committee members or chair to do with the process of the Committee of Adjustment, either now or when any individual application is discussed later on in the meeting. So the first of the applications, A01-22, is by numbered company, Eric Duiker, representing. And this is a matter of seeking relief with both with regard to interior side yard width and building height. And I would turn it over to Mr. Trotman for any comments you may wish to make about your staff report, or perhaps culminating in the recommendation that you've made in your planning report. Dave, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Riley. I'm not sure Mr. Duiker's online tonight, although given the nature of this application, then that may not be too much of a worry, really. It's a minor variance application for the newly created lot that was severed from 12 Coles Crescent back in June of last year. So it's an infill industrial lot, and it met the policy requirements of the time that lot got approved. So obviously, of course, as a vacant lot, we anticipated a new building coming on that lot, and it has, well, or will be. It's seeking, though, these two variants, one for the side yard, the interior side yard at the north, and the other one for height. I think, as with industrial and other certain uses and zones we have, this is all subject to site plan control. And there will be, as usual, a good broad scrutiny of the design parameters for the proposed building, including landscaping, buffering, and that sort of thing, access and servicing and so forth. But for this application, the question is the two minor variances appropriate? Are they minor and in keeping with the official plan and zoning bylaw? And the scope of my report says just that they are. They are minor in my opinion. I've reflected that in the recommendation. And as I usually do, my recommendation, you may note, the figures don't exactly jive with what's being asked for. In other words, I've given the applicant just a little bit, not a lot, a little bit of wiggle room to 5.35 meters. They had requested 5.48, and the same with height. And that's really just to prevent the recurrence of having to come back because of an on-site building scenario. I have not much more to say. It will go through site plan control. And I do want to make note too that there will be buffering in the area, front yard and in the rear yard. It will be also subject to a formal landscape design program, as well as all the other relative design elements that would normally apply. The only thing I want to add is that we did get an email from a resident across the street about the nature of the application. She's had concerns in the past about Coles Crescent. And I did reply to her saying that, you know, these matters such as screening, the other matter she had was noise, attenuation, will be dealt with through site plan control. So I will make sure that at the time of site plan control, these matters are reviewed with the applicant and their designers, engineer, architect, as the case may be, and making sure that these are A, screening is applied, and B, noise, ambient noise is mitigated. That's about the only other thing. That's all I really have to say about this application.
Could I ask committee members for any questions or comments on these two minor variances that are before us? Bob, do you want to start?
Yep, happy to. Thank you. I have no problem with this at all. And Dave, I think you've really addressed everything that that I was going to bring up. The site plan control. I'm just looking here at Christine Baker's email. Her concern about noise and a blight on the landscape and traffic. I have driven there, in fact, as late as this afternoon, and sat in front of her house and looked at it. She talks about her concern about the loading dock, which is to the north, which, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the best location for it, because the only thing or people that are going to hear it is the field in the hand lands to the north, and that. So I don't have an issue with that at all. But the other thing, and all I've highlighted here, is that along the east side of the property, the one that faces the second line, which you will take care of with site plan control, to have large trees there that between the building and the proposed septic bed, that will block any visuals that the bakers may see there. I'm not sure they will. It's up on the hill, but if they show some trees along there, David, make sure that they put big trees there and lots of them, and then I think it's fine. Having said all of that, I will be supporting this application when we come around to the vote.
Thank you very much. Could I ask you, Jerry, if you have any comments to offer?
No, I don't think I have. I think David has addressed everything in his report, and certainly including the concern of the neighbors. So I have no concerns with it.
Corinne?
Thanks. No, I also have no concerns.
Brenda, do you have any concerns?
No concerns here either.
I'd just like to echo a couple of things. One of which, Susan, for future reference, I didn't get a copy of Christine Baker's email. And that's probably because I was CC'd on on an email chain or something. And for some reason, out in some of the rural reaches of Mono, the servers don't like to deliver those things. So Susan, just for future reference, if you can make sure that last minute items like Christine Baker's email get sent to me directly, I would appreciate it. The second thing is I would echo Bob's encouragements to you, Dave, about the back end of the property and its appearance. And it's a very clever use of putting a septic bed into that area. I take that to be what that is. I think I can't really read it at that scale. I should have got out my microscope, but I couldn't. But that's a good idea. And that gives a little additional setback. That's a real dip in there, like a physical dip in the land there. I would expect you're going to be approached for, a request to bring in some fill and that kind of thing to fill that up. And personally, I think that's too bad because there's some good soil and there's some good trees in there. So if, Dave, as you're looking into that, you might find some scope to actually leave some of the vegetation that's already providing a visual buffer there as is, and add to it as needs be. I think that would be an additional accommodation so that the appearance of the site from the second line is minimized. So that's all I have to offer on that. Otherwise, I have no objections whatsoever. And I would ask if anybody wishes to bring forward a resolution to cover the recommendations that are on page, David. Yes, David.
Yeah, just to that point, Chair Riley, our engineer will be looking at that septic design, and it will have to be up to snuff to what our engineer requires. I'm not sure which way the tile lines go. It could be that they go longitudinally, but regardless, it doesn't matter. And with respect to the fill matter, if that indeed is a part of the scenario, then that too will get scrutinized and reviewed. And whatever treatment goes in there, I will ensure that it has a landscape design that is appropriate and attractive. Because if I said to anyone, just because it's industrial doesn't mean it has to be, does not have to have curb appeal. It just needs to have curb appeal, and this one will too.
Thank you very much. That having been said, I see Bob raising his hand. Are you making a recommendation?
I'm happy to recommend that we approve this.
Okay, as laid out on page 3 of the planning report, the
Yes.
recommendation is laid out there.
Yes.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
Jerry raising his hands. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. And that matter is concluded. And that application is accepted. Thank you very much. So moving on, we are now on to application number B01-22. The applicant, John Island, 22 Buena Vista Drive in Mono, and looking to create a new lot on the subject property. And I thank you very much for the materials. I think we've all had a look at them. We have a planning report in front of us with a recommendation on its page 5. And Dave, I'll turn it over to you for your presentation if you like first, and then I'll ask John if he, Mr. Island, whether or not he has anything that he wishes to contribute to the discussion. Over to you, David.
Hey, Chair Riley, this is for an infill residential lot on the north side of Buena Vista Drive. I think the report I prepared for you is pretty comprehensive. The proposed lot will divide the subject property into two lots that are generally of about the same frontage depth and lot area as the other lots along that portion of Buena Vista Drive. So it does constitute to be an infill, residential infill lot. It would be on private services, which is the case for the other lots in the area. And it can meet frontage and lot area requirements. I did have some discussion with Mr. Island before he put in his application. There's an older garage there. And originally he wanted to put the proposed lot line beyond the garage to make the lot even narrower. And I said, well, I need to look at long-term aspects of this. And the preference and the need really is that the lot frontage be of similar size to those in the area. So if this is approved, that older garage will have to be demolished, which Mr. Island, of course, is obviously amenable to. And otherwise it would be an encroachment. And but that can happen at the time of sale of the lot when it occurs. That's what I've noted as one of the recommendations. So I think it's a thorough policy review. I don't have a problem with it as proposed. I have outlined some conditions, however, and these are standard. And I've cited number 6 as the demolition of that. And I said any encroaching structures, but it's really just the one garage as I know it to be. Open to questions.
Jerry, can I start with you?
No, it seems to me like it's a good use of infilling in a hamlet, and I would approve it.
Brenda? Not hearing from Brenda. I'll ask Corinne if you have any comments or questions on this one.
Yeah, no, thanks, John. No, everything seems to be in order and I have no issues with the infill lot.
Bob, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I think this is absolutely a perfect infill lot there. I drove past it today. John Island, those are pretty ratty looking trees in there. So I think that somebody to clear some of those out and put a new house on it will be an improvement. So I think this is great. I will be supporting it.
Thanks, Bob.
Brenda, any suggestions, comments to be made, Brenda?
No, I support this application. It's infilling and it will be a good lot.
Very good. Mr. Island, would you like to make any comments or add anything at this time?
Sure. Hi, everyone. This application creates the new property in a desirable location because it's handy to highways 9 and 10 and Orangeville's amenities. At the same time, it provides an opportunity for a new building lot in keeping with the Mono neighborhood, which it is a part of. It meets the zoning bylaw with 120-foot frontage and a depth of 329 feet. It's at the top of Buena Vista Drive, which allows for good sight lines for driveway access.
Well, that's a good discussion. I think this is very straightforward, and I would ask someone whether or not, David, if you have any final comments before we move to a resolution.
Thank you, Chair Riley. Just one, and it is there cited as one of the conditions. And while I don't expect there to be a problem, it is there nevertheless, and that is it is subject to entrance approval. Now, in the highly unlikely event that it doesn't get it, that would be a problem, but that's probably not going to be the case. But I do note as a condition and it's there as number 3, that vehicular access to the subject property must be sought and achieved. It will be from probably the town of Orangeville, because Bona Vista is maintained by Orangeville. But I've also included Mona's Public Works Director, just with additional oversight to make sure that that's all copacetic to our Director of Public Works as well. Not likely to be a problem, but it does
I
sit
can
there
hardly
with the
see
rest of the
that another
conditions.
driveway where there are driveways immediately to the left and to the right and to the opposite side that it can
I'm
possibly.
not expecting an issue at all, but it's there nevertheless.
Thank you
That's all.
very much. So do we have someone to,
Sorry, can I just interrupt for a minute?
yes, Susan?
We did get the email from Brandon Ward from the town of Orangeville too. So he had just mentioned that as conditions for approval, that the severed and retained parcels be serviced by private well and septic systems and will not be permitted to connect to the town of Orangeville municipal water and sanitary sewer system. And that any new access on Buena Vista Drive, that the apron shall be paved to limit any gravel being washed or drawn onto the road. So is that something that needs to be added, David, to what we have already?
Well,
We've got
if-
Director of Public Works for Orangeville, so I think it's sufficient that he's probably gotten those from his Director of Public Works, probably.
If it's an acre of land, it's surrounded by properties on wells and septics, I mean, it'll be taken for granted that that's the approach to be taken. And Susan, is this another email that you circulated but did not get to me?
Yes, so I sent it, I sent them all, I sent the 2, I think it was just that we received them, I think it was late yesterday. And I sent them to my COA list, John, so.
Yes,
I
so
guess
can you just put another sticker up on your screen there to, this has come up a number of times and I just need to remind you every once in a while. Thank you. That having been said, do I have a mover to support the recommendation on page 5 of 5 of the planning report?
I will so move.
Moved by Jerry,
I can second that.
seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
excellent. So, Mr. Island, go forth and push paper. And you will get your severance.
Okay.
I just have one question for John Island. Out of curiosity, are you a member of the Island family that famous for Island Lake?
Yes.
Very good.
Great-grandfather owned all the land around Island Lake back in the day.
It would be Michael.
That's
And your-
right.
And your great-grandfather was my grandfather's best man at his wedding, and I have a lamp in my kitchen that he presented to my grandmother and grandfather.
Well, that's cool. Very
Very good. Thank you.
Any parting remarks, Mr. Island?
No, I was just wondering timelines, and obviously I may need some assistance in directions. Hoping that David and Susan can point me in the right way.
Once we get the notice of decision out, John, you'll get a copy. And I think really at that point, you're going to have to ring up your friendly neighborhood surveyor and your friendly neighborhood realty lawyer. And those two will take the conditions cited in the notice from there,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay, sounds good. And how long will it take before I get that notice?
We have to get that out shortly, so you'll see it either by email and post mail. I believe we have about 20 days, but it'll be sooner than that. So, I would say by the first or leading to the second week of March, probably the end of first week of March, somewhere around there.
Okay, very good.
We have your email, so you'll get it by email first and foremost.
Okay, thanks, David.
We're witnesses to that promise, Mr. Ireland.
Okay,
As long as I'm not
If
conscripted
it doesn't happen.
to go to the Eastern Front, all will be well.
yeah. Exactly.
Thank you very much. Is there a matter about active planning applications that we wish to address at this particular time? I know, Bob, we had a good discussion of this at the policy and planning and environment and natural heritage committee. And if you, I think three of us at any rate were party to that. If you wish to address that matter, Bob, you were quite succinct and eloquent in your last presentation on that.
I don't think there's anything new. I bring it up at the Planning, Environment, Natural Heritage Committee because there are some things that they show up there on the Town of Mono website under active planning applications, and I don't like getting blindsided, getting calls from somebody. The pre-consultation for the two of them that are there. But so that's the reason why I brought it up for that. I don't know whether David, I don't think there's anything new, but Corinne and Brenda were not involved with that. So I think they just need to be aware that on the Town of Mono website, there is a tab. It says active planning applications. Some of those are probably the two that we just discussed that are on there. Some of them are planning things, and some of them are very, very preliminary pre-consultation ones, one of which is the Hand lands that is just north of the Coles industrial subdivision that we discussed with our first application here tonight. So it's just a question, or just a matter of being aware of those things that are on the town website.
Is there any other business to be discussed? Hearing and seeing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll do that.
I'll assign that to Bob, and seconded by Jerry. Thank you very much. And I think this is our first meeting of the new year, if I'm not mistaken. So by all means, a happy new year, and let's get her done.
That's for sure.
Good meeting, John. Under a half an hour. Spectacular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Susan, take note, 7:28 is the time of adjournment. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a very pleasant evening.
Have a good night.
Have a
Take
Good
care.
night.
Be pleasant to see you.